Thank you, Reggie and Mo. I'm so sorry for that inconvenience about the presentation, but that was a very enriching conversation, and I'm sure our audience would be delighted to know more from you during our networking breaks. Moving on, we now have CX experts from different industries joining us for a panel discussion, our first panel discussion for the day, answering the posing question on how CX expectations are rising, but if your organization's CX toolkit is really ready. As I call your name out, I would request the panelists to please come up on stage and take a seat. First up, we have Khaled Alaa El Din, who is the head of experience for Talabat. Khaled is an achiever with exemplary organizational skills and exceptionally versatile management, with several years of customer experience-centric duties. Being an experienced, hardworking goal achiever, his proficiencies in e-commerce have aided him in gaining valuable insights on improving hands-on customer experience throughout his professional career. Khaled, can we please have you on stage? Keep the applause coming, guys. Come on. Next up, we have Khaled Nabhan, Head of Customer Experience for First Abu Dhabi Bank. For over 13 years of banking experience in AAIB, Bank Audi Egypt, and FAB, supporting with master degree in banking, finance, and certified Lean Six Sigma BB, PMD, and data analysis, Nabhan was responsible for overseeing and reshaping the customer's journey through all of bank's touch and digital points by creating the CX model and applying the group strategy that aimed to enhance and sustain external and internal CX to not only meet but exceed all expectations that makes their lives significantly easier and better. Next up, we have Paul Herman, Vice President of Customer Engagement and Market Intelligence from Sprinklr. Paul Herman is the Vice President of Customer Engagement and Market Intelligence, a Sprinklr customer for nearly 5 years. Paul joined the company from Nike, where he was the Program Director of Global Brand Digital Platforms, responsible for globally enabling Nike's digital content, dynamic audience targeting, asset management, omni-channel publishing, customer support, and digital reporting success. At Sprinklr, Paul focuses on helping bring Sprinklr's product to market and market the Sprinklr's product overall. Next up, our last panelist, Zafeer Shamsudeen, Director of Sales and Marketing from Rawabi. During his career, he has gained experience of introducing new product launches, project management, restructuring operations while growing sales, and leading cross-functional teams across both domestic and Gulf markets. And last but not least, moderating this panel discussion with these distinguished set of leaders, let's welcome back to the stage Sanjay Swamy, Director, Martechvibe. And with that, over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being part of this panel. I think Sneha has already introduced this session, so I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to start with you, Paul. Let's start with talking about how can brands improve their CX strategy. A lot identify it as, I wouldn't want to call it as poor CX, but how can brands improvise the CX strategy?
Well, I think the first thing is when it comes to identifying poor CX, so the first thing is to be able to do that. We know that customers are 12 times more likely to tell other people when they've had a bad experience. They're telling other people. They're maybe not telling you. So the first thing, as Raji pointed out, is be where your customers are. So the first thing is to be able to have that ability to listen when people are talking to you and when people are talking about you. And then having a very clear strategy to handle that. We did a study with Twitter, and the number one thing in handling customer experience is taking ownership. The ability to take ownership requires you to be personal, requires you to have context, and taking ownership is above and beyond far more important than maybe answering very, very fast. Owning it as companies is really critical. And turning that into routing that message into the right person is part of taking that ownership. So it's kind of what Raji talked about, being where your customers are, understanding the intent, and being able to take action on it. I think those are the three key elements.
Zafeer, you want to come in there?
Yeah, well said actually, because you're right, because we are in an era where because customer knows everything in and out. Those days are gone. At the moment we talk about the CX, honestly speaking, we got to touch about PX now. It's all about the personal experience. That means a lot. Because if you look at the consumers, because they are the driving seat at the moment, they know all in and out. They know what they really want. They know which direction they go, and they know what level of experience they are looking at. They look at the things which they really wanted on the next minute or exceeding the expectation. Days are gone. People are working toward the product or brand because they are the ambassador. You rightly said, Paul, because when I ask an experience, the first thing comes to the people is a person. Yes, this person was not there. If you ask for a negative experience, the same thing comes up. Yeah, it would have done better if this gentleman was there. The people are focused on the place, but knowing the customers and getting towards their needs, that means a lot, yeah?
Khaled Alaa, you want to come?
You can start to differentiate. You can call me Nabhan
Which is why I said
to
Khaled
avoid
Alaa.
lot of convention between me and Khaled.
Right. You can win.
Well, actually, I do agree with my colleagues about the importance of focusing on the customer experience in each touch points coming with the business, because actually the spread or word of mouth will be distributed along the market. You will never catch it, you will never note about it. You will never catch it again. It will back with the negative vibes on the product or service that you are offering, especially on the social media now. It's spreading just like this in a few minutes.
And Khaled Alaa?
So the job now is getting harder, to be honest with you, because now all the customers are open to all the other the competition all around. So they know what is the minimum standard they should expect. So your role now is about impressing the customer all the time. So it's not only exclusive to deliver the service, but you need always to keep on impressing and finding new ways all the time.
Right. Paul, I'm going to come back to you to talk about the role of data. You know, how can, say, CX experts use data in strategizing optimum CX for their brands?
Yeah, so we had an amazing discussion this morning. We started the day out with about 20 different people just in a room down the way here, and I would say 95% of the people in the room had a data problem. And it's either too much data, right, or the wrong data, or data is in silos. So the data integrity, data quality, and data quantities are all these things that people are battling with today. I think the key thing for me, as I talk to brands across the globe, is all about bringing data at the point of experience and making sure that that data is actionable at that point, right? So it's kind of moving away from point of sale thinking to point of experience thinking, right? We're moving into this internet of experiences where experience will be the differentiator. And it's very important to think in terms of data. This conference is called, CX. Many people think the word CX is customer experience. I agree. But it's also the customer that's not your customer yet. And we have this opportunity to think about C as almost like consumer and customer. Who's the next person who's going to purchase from you? And I think we live in this amazing digital world today where we actually can see into the customers we don't have. And that's an amazingly rich opportunity because there's a lot of data that can give you context for conversation, that can give you context for conversion, right? And I think it's really important to think through that. As you look at your experiences, as you look at that, it'll broaden your aperture on the entire experience continuum. Understanding non-customer to customer is very, very critical, and how they play and how they talk to each other. So I think it's really, really key. So bringing first-party data, third-party data, publicly available data in a context for conversation, I think is where people are going to go.
Right, and I want to bring in Khaled Nabhan over here to try and understand what are some best practices that you've seen in your career when it comes to customer journey mapping. Can you shed some insights on that?
Let's define the customer process mapping for the audience. So it is the contribution of the customer with each and every touch point and process within the organization till receiving their service and product. Actually, a business have to seeing well each and every journey with the customer through those map, just to ensure that the customer taking the best customer experience from his point of view. We can see now that most of the companies and the service sending surveys or checking at each touch point with the customer at each step till he receiving the product to find his opinion or how to figure it out, like the way they are looking for or not. Actually, when we look into the process, we have as it is that what we found the business working on it, and what we are going to be, what we want to enhance about it. So if we are going to deliver the wow customer experience, we have to reshaping the mapping or the customer journey mapping well for each and every steps that the customer taken across all the channels. Since most of the customers now are going to the digital platform or even visiting the branch to take their service, according to the industry for sure. Actually, the most important point in this journey that we want to align all the service team, all the people who are serving our customer to be aligning with the same service level that we are maintaining. Since that we find that in a lot of industry, that the team who are serving the customer, only one can destroying all the dream you are going for. So having a very well-designed process map for the customer experience is one of the important things in the customer experience. Even if you are shipping for all the product that we have here. For example, we have in our bank like 400 processes for all the product and service product to the customers, and we have to overhaul or to reshaping it to improve our customer service provided towards our customers.
Right. And Khaled Alaa, taking the cue from Khaled, how do you see, CX professionals ensuring quality control and efficiency across customer journeys and, phygital touch points?
So speaking about phygital, it's as it sounds, it's a merge between the physical and the digital, and this is where the companies try to cover the gap between the physical and the digital touch points. So there are actually three main factors needs to be included in the phygital channels, which what we call it needs to be ICE. What is ICE? It needs to be instant, and it needs to be connected, and it needs to be engaging as well. So speaking about instant, now we see that the statistics says that 45% of the customers could change the brand easily if we don't anticipate their needs. Just imagine when their needs are present and you don't react quickly. And speaking about being connected, it's about not having your customer experience disconnected from between the online and offline. So just imagine going into a nice store, having a really nice experience, which is a physical store, and going online to have a bad customer experience, and the other way around. So it needs to be connected that way. And speaking about being engaging, so if the customer did not notice that this phygital tool or mean that you're using with them, it's most probably that you are not using the correct approach. You are not, or you're not choosing the correct customer if it is an online from an online channel.
And I know we had this discussion during our pre-panel chat. Do you want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, so it's always an interesting conversation. Are you going to become efficient before you become effective, or you become effective before you become efficient? If you talk to a bunch of German companies, it's the efficiency for sure. But look, the key thing, and by the way, I love the ICE thing. I'm going to add one. I think it's iced with a D for digital. I mean, we come with it. But yeah, I love that idea. So, I mean, the critical thing, whenever we speak to customers, certainly Sprinklr is a technology company, but I think the vast majority of conversations that I have with customers are actually around people, processes, and playbooks. But technology is the enabler. If you get your, in order to become efficient and become effective, I think you have to start with the people. And you start with, what do you want people to do? I always say that technology is the how and the when. Your strategy and your objectives is the what and the why. And you cannot become efficient until you start asking those questions. What do you want people to achieve? Why do you want them to achieve it? Right? Ultimately, we're all connected in companies on the last one, which is the so what, which is, can you measure the efficiency? Can you measure the efficacy? Those are the critical patterns. But we've seen companies double down and say, hey, we are going to become efficient first before we become effective. If efficacy does follow that efficiency, we had a big discussion in the room about mastering the fundamentals. Right? What are the fundamentals of processes and people that lays that foundation to become effective in the future? And I think it's a really, really good conversation to have.
Zafeer, how do you think technology can enhance that customer experience?
Yeah, the technology is the way forward because, what we see is everything is good unless otherwise you have a technological architect built into it. It's a good example. If you can see the COVID timeline, we never thought of we will head toward where are we today. Because we all had a fear. If it's all about the approach, how it goes. It has to go from the both side, top down and the bottom up approach. If you look at it, COVID is a good example for all of us, which direction we went in. We never thought in a meeting or a customer experience, anything can be done without meeting them in person. But we proved them. It's because we never thought our omni-channels or the e-commerce platform drive in such a faster pace. We all had a fear unless otherwise. Now the metaverse in another chapter we are heading toward where before getting itself, all in and out about it. So getting into the customer, because the technology will definitely gonna help us in a way to reach out. We talk about the big data because we all rightly said, Paul, because we have a lot of data, how we're not analyzing. So these data analyzing and getting into the customer. But I'm repeating again, the customer knows in and out at the moment because they are on the driving seat. Because the days are gone now, we are going toward instead of B2C, we are going toward a C2B. The customer is driving. If the customer is not there based on others, toward that journey, I think the technology is the way forward, yeah?
And Paul, I want to come back to you. When we were talking about data, you mentioned the cookie-less future, right? And I'm sure a lot of people want to know this answer. Like, how do you see, or how is the cookie-less future shaping up and impacting CX strategies?
Does anybody in the room know when it's coming? Please raise your hand. I'd like to know. It's been talked about for quite a while. Look, I think it's going back to that data question, right? When we discuss and when we talk with companies, the key thing around first-party data and third-party data, I think the companies that are doing very well at this are the companies that are being very deliberate about it. Meaning, they're looking to establish channels of communication with their customers that are going to give them the level of data. We were chatting about this concept of membership. And I was privileged to work on Nike's membership program, the whole the app experience. A big part of what we were trying to do there. When I joined Nike, we had 1.5 million members. Today, Nike has 300 million members. 300 million people have the ability to communicate with Nike. Many of them have the app. Why did Nike do that? And this is the idea of owning your data. So we talk about loyalty programs, yada, 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 but it's all about membership. It's all like giving instruments, whether it's the app or whether it's social media or whatever, but being very deliberate about creating the concept of profile is a kind of a fun word, but creating profiles within companies and then being deliberate about how many fields and you would want to get on that customer. Completion of profile. We're all used to doing, hey, we're looking at LinkedIn, you get a percentage completion of your profile. We all see that, right? But if you get, as a company, and start being deliberate about that and say, okay, what do we want to learn about a customer and what data points do we need to create amazing experiences and being deliberate on every touch point to fill out that progressive profile on the consumer, I think that's where people are going. Then you're prepared for the cookieless future. Because then if that goes on, you still have that really, really close relationship with the consumer and the customer, and I think you're in a really good spot.
Right. And I want to talk about contact centers to you, Khaled Nabhan. How do you see contact centers still win over digital CS?
Well, I believe that call center would never end for going out of the competition from providing service. Most of people now, especially in our region, still depending on the call center or even they found that it's more easier to order their foods or asking for their financial service, for example, in the banking. Especially in the financial sector, maybe still fear or barrier to talk with chatbot or something on the app and releasing their financial info. They usually prefer to have it over the phone. Even also when they are in hurry or they want to express their feelings, so they depending on their sound and their emotions to deliver it, which will not be reflected on the chat. For example, if you lost your credit card or you want to you got a hack transactions, you want to stop it immediately. But you want to ensure with some person on the other side that he already took the actions and it's safe now. Maybe this will be changing in the future with what we call the Z generations, or people who are looking that the mobile pocket is everything in their life now. But for the time being, an call center is competing in delivering the service. Even if you're looking in the investment done in this industry of the call center, in most of the companies is still paying a lot of funds in this investment. Aside to the digital platform, I think Khaled can agree with me in this topic. So I saw that they must be working parallel to each other, the digital channels and the call center as well. No one will stop the other. The dependency on both are equally for the time being and maybe in the futures also.
Do you have any questions for the panelists? I mean, the floor is open if at all anyone has any questions for the panelists over here. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands. But if you don't, I have another question. Zafeer, I think a lot of us would want to know what is the main problem that you're facing right now, right? When it comes to CX and something that keeps you up all night, and how are you resolving it?
Yeah, for us, the real challenge being a fast-moving consumer good, we are working with the product of 4 days of a shelf life. Because getting into the consumers, because we are in an age where consumers' loyalty or brand efficacy, it's out of window now. So keep them awake, so get them to a clear direction. So it is our responsibility how we get there. So for us, it's getting a data. It's crucial to get the data because, if you ask for me, yes, I will tell you around 18,000 retailers I supply every single day, any of the fresh product. If you ask me who are the consumers, I'll left with no answers because that's the place where we're really lacking. Who are the consumers, how we get. So building back to the previous question on to your concern, because this is the place where we get to know about the feedbacks on where we can get into the consumer shoes, because unless otherwise you get to know them real feeling. Because as far as we are in an era where we really wanted to get into their shoes and understand their taste and understand their needs, how because they want everything yesterday. So we are in for me, the challenge mostly onto the getting into the data and reach them out directly.
Right, and Paul, you've seen both sides, right? I'm sure you've had this when you were brand side and now as a tech solution provider. How do you think Zafeer can solve that issue?
Yeah. Wow, put me on the spot. Use Sprinklr, no, I'm joking. But at the end of the day, I think you have this amazing opportunity to, with digital channels, to understand your consumer. Now, let me just, if I can give you a quick thing. When you're thinking about your listening and strategy as a company, there's 4 areas that I believe companies are focusing on. The first thing is they listen to people talking to them. So these are people who are at mentioning your brand, right? So that's obviously, my wife says that's being polite, right? So if you're listening to people talking to you, right? The second thing is listening to people talking about you. So when people are talking about your product or your service, by the way, that's the lost art of hashtag. A lot of people don't do them very well anymore. It's very important from a listening perspective. People talking about you, maybe you're mentioning a hashtag. Third area, people talking about your competition. So what's happening in the market? And then the fourth area, the big bubble, is people talking about things that you care about. Whether it's sustainability or packaging or logistics. If you have and you think through that from basic listening to product insights, location insights, media insights, visual insights, there's a whole slew of tools available to get a really big view, even if you don't know who the customer actually is. That gets you that context. So I think people tend to want to really get like, I need to know the individual. Sometimes, yeah, that'll come. That'll come, right? So if you can just listen to lead before you get to the end, there's no shortcut. Learning comes first, and I think we have an amazing ability to get our arms around all this data. So, we've kind of gone beyond the basics of social listening. Started, 2016. We're way more advanced these days, and I think it's worthwhile getting that entire strategy together around those 4 bubbles, and it really helps.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you so much to the panelists. We're pressed for time. But our panelists are around if you would want to have a conversation with them during the networking breaks. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen.